Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. If you're here, welcome Shinayomi John. Welcome. You're welcome. So if you're here, just drop the heart emoji. So I know you're here. If you can hear me, drop the heart emoji. So I know you are here, and it's going to be an awesome one. I hope you guys can hear me. Okay, I hope everyone can hear me. If you can hear me, drop that heart emoji. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome. Good evening, welcome. It's good to have everyone here again. It's good to have you guys here. And yeah, okay, great. So you guys can hear me, so we are good to go. Um, so I'm just trying to see if I can bring up the volume more. So if you don't mind, okay, great. If you don't mind, go ahead and give this video a likes. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and also drop comments whenever you can. And at any time you have a question, don't forget to drop it in the comment section so that my colleague can pick it up and would answer those later on. Okay. Um, well, that notwithstanding, let's go ahead and kick off today's learning. I don't know who else is here. Let me see. Who do we have here? Who do we have here? Let me see. Who else do we have? So, like I said, please, if you have questions, do well to drop them in the comment section so that we can actually pick it up and answer it later. Okay. I sincerely hope you guys have been going through those documents on the portal because they're actually very, very important. So we'll take a look at them and see if we can also answer questions. Okay. Good evening, Bumi. Welcome, Bumi. Welcome, Sakina, the third person on the leaderboard. I can see you. Well done. I'm sure you are planning to take over. And yes, like I said, overtaking is allowed. I can also see the almighty David Okumbo. Well done, everyone. I really appreciate everyone here. So today we are not going to. Let me just go back. So we're taking a look at this, the journey so far, and I also hope we actually watch this live on our desktop or laptop because it's actually clearer when you watch it on desktop than using a mobile phone, because on mobile it might just be a little bit small, but try as much as possible to watch on desktop. Okay, Starboy is here. Welcome, Caleb. Happy Sunday. I wish you the best. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and continue from where we stopped. So far, the journey so far, we started from the product development life cycle. Okay. Now remember, we are now talking about UX design. We are also doing our challenge alongside. So if you've actually gone through the documents and you have questions, please do not hesitate to drop the questions in the comment section. But I just want to run through a quick rundown of what we've been covering so far, and after that we'll go into what we have for today. But most importantly, know that from next week all the UX classes are going to be practical. Now, it's extremely important you go through those documents. The good thing about UX design is those documents are basically informational documents, right? They are not technical documents yet. They are basically informational documents or informational lessons. So just read it as if you are reading a novel. You don't have to go into nitty-gritty. Just read it. Let that information, digest those information, just so that that information is just at the back of your mind. Okay, so that is basically what those documents are. You are not reading, it's not a thesis yet. It's not something it's not science textbook that we are coming to ask you question, what is this, what is that. No, you are reading it to get these informations into your head. So as time goes on, you can actually, as you are designing, you keep picking it up, right? So yeah, so we talked about the product development cycle. So every product you see have basically these 5 stages. Okay, we have the first part, which is the brainstorming. Right now, at the brainstorming stage, this is where businesses try to align their business goals with the problem they are trying to solve. Okay, so that's at the brainstorming stage, and once you've been able to brainstorm and come up with different ideas, you can go ahead to define what exactly it is you want to build. Okay, because at the brainstorming stage, you are going to come up with different ideas, different solutions, different features, right? And these things are going to be a little bit scattered. Then at the define stage, you begin to define what exactly you are going to be doing, right? And like I said, the brainstorming stage is actually very, very important. This is where you do things like researching your competitors and understanding what the users need. Once you're able to do this, you now move over to the define stage. At the define stage, this is where you now bring in both the UX designers and other people in the product team to now define the features that are going to be designed or that are going to be included into the product, right? Features that will be needed or features that will not be needed. This is where it is determined. And from there, you now move over to the design. So at the design stage, this is where you probably design the wireframes and the prototypes. So once you are done designing, you move over to the next stage, which is the testing stage. At the testing stage, you can do things like usability studies, gather feedback, iterate. Okay, you iterate over the design and you launch. But if you take a look at this image, you will find out that it is what a circle. So it keeps going. It is not just, you don't just launch then you go and sit down. So that is why companies keep hiring UI UX designers, because if it is just launch and that's all, then there will be no need to hire any UI UX designer. But since this is an iterative process, you keep developing this, you keep iterating, you keep finding things that needs to be updated, you keep updating it, right? So the product development cycle is kind of like iterative. So you brainstorm, you define, you design, you test, and you launch. So this is very important for you to understand as a UX designer. It's very important because as time goes on, in any company you are going to be working in, you sometimes will be part of the brainstorming stage. Okay, sometimes you might not. Sometimes you might come into the define and design stage and also the testing stage. Okay, you might not be part of the launching stage, but there are different stages whereby UX designers of different levels are invited to join the product team. Okay, so you need to be aware of this product development cycle as a UI UX designer. So please, if you've not gone through those lessons on the platform, do well to read them. Okay, do well to read them. Like I said, they are not technical things. These are informational. You read it, you know it. It's just there at the back of your mind. Now, after that, we went into this defining what exactly makes a good product. All right, you want to be a UI UX designer, you want to be working on product. What exactly makes a good product? We said for a product to be called a good product, it must satisfy these 4 things, right? It must satisfy these 4 things. The first one being able to solve the user's problem. That's usefulness. A product can only be said to be good if it solves a user's problem. And with apps, every app solves a particular problem. That's one thing with apps you need to know. Every app you know solves one particular problem. Now, as time goes on, you can, increase the feature to solve more problems. But at the core of every app, they are solving one problem at a time, right? So if you are going to be designing a product, that product must solve users problem. If the product isn't solving any problem, then it makes no sense. We've seen apps, even big apps that came up, right? And because they weren't solving any particular problem, they just had to, like, what, fold. Okay, we've seen in Nigeria, we've seen abroad, right? Something like Google Plus. When Google Plus came out, the problem they were trying to solve was not actually what the users needed at that point. That is why Facebook beat them to it, right? They couldn't compete with Facebook. And we saw the same thing happen with the Abeg app. The Abeg app was trying to solve a problem that have already been solved in Nigeria, right? You see, when they introduced the Abeg app, the kind of stories they built around it. You want to raise money, or you need some money, you go to the Abeg app, you request for money, and then people ask for your Abeg ID, and then they send to you. That seems nice, but here was the friction, right? If I wanted to use a Abeg app, that means whoever that is going to send me money is going to transfer the money from their card first to the Abeg app. Then they send it to my Abeg handle, and from there I now push it back to my bank account before I can use it. Meanwhile, the person could have just transferred to me direct. So you can see that instead of easing the user's problem, they added a few more layers to compounding the whole thing. Geniusoft Abeg app was an app, a fintech app that was introduced in Nigeria, I think last year. If you watched the Big Brother last year, they heavily invested, they heavily advertised on the platform, but they've actually changed their product goal and roadmap, and now it's called the Pocket app. They've changed the direction of the app now. So it's very important that when building a product, it's very important that when building a product, the product should solve users' problem. Yes, I think there's something showing on the screen, and that is what makes a good product. Okay, that's what we are looking at now. What makes a good product? So the first thing we said is that for something to be called a good product, it must solve users' problem. So it needs to solve users' problem. If it is not solving any problem, then it is not a good product. Just forget about it. Okay, so that is what you need to know. So hope you can see it now. Yes, Bakare, that's Pocket app used to be called Abeg app before. Okay, so here we are now. What makes a good product? Like I said, the first one, useful. It has to solve users' problem. If it is not solving users' problem, then it is not a good product. Number two, it has to be clear and easy to use. Clear and easy to use. You should ask yourself, whenever you are designing an app, you should ask yourself, is everything on this app, all the features, are they very clear and easy to use? Like I keep telling you guys, when you are designing a product, when you are designing a user interface, your problem shouldn't be what can I add. Your problem should be what can I remove to make this as seamless and as easy as possible. Can you guys see the screen now? We just this is the second screen so far. Can you guys see the screen now? Okay, great. So the question you should be asking yourself is, what should I take away? Like you can see some of those designs you guys were sending in. Some of them you'll be told to go and remove some things that are just unnecessary. This is not graphic design that you say or arts. Arts, with arts you can do anything you want and there is a story behind it. But this is not art, this is not graphics design. This is product design. You want to make it clear and as easy to use as possible. Okay? The third thing is delighting the user. The app needs to delight the user. Now we can see the way TikTok was able to go around this by making the app, after I explain how TikTok makes all this, and then it blew up. So the product needs to be delightful to the user. Users should be happy using it. The functionalities and everything should be enjoyable, right? It should be enjoyable. It should be something that users find intuitive to use. Okay? Yes, Shina Yomi John. Yes, always look for what to remove in your own design, especially, right? And the last thing, equitable. It should be equitable. It should be helpful to everyone. Now, remember last week we talked about your users. We talked about different types of users. At the same time, it should be helpful to everyone in the sense that whenever you are designing, also make sure you talk about things like accessibility, also talks about things like equity versus equality, okay? So that you are making sure that your app is accessible to everyone. So these are the 4 things you should always look at when designing: usefulness, usable, enjoyable, equitable. Now, if you look at an app like TikTok, you see what they did, because they were able to create an app that just makes 30 seconds videos, right? Not now that they've increased it. 30 seconds. People got creative and started creating skits and content around 30 seconds that were actually super effective and super fun, right? And it was very easy to use. In fact, immediately you download the TikTok app, you don't even need to sign up. Immediately you download the TikTok app, they don't do any unnecessary onboarding. You just swipe and start watching. It was very easy to use. It's only maybe when you want to like, right? When you want to like an item, they will now tell you, okay, you have to create an account. At that point, you now want to create an account, right? And you create the account, and that's just, it makes it very easy to use, right? And when it comes to delighting users, the UX strategy they used around TikTok made it even more delightful, that it made a lot of creators on YouTube and Facebook to jump over to TikTok, right? Because the way they built their algorithm was a little bit different, right? And that made TikTok gathered a lot of users, a lot of content creators. And also the people that are not content creators, that are just watching, found the app interesting, because unlike Instagram, whereby you only see content of people you are following, TikTok made it such that you see variety of contents, right? And they built in a very powerful algorithm that can over time predict the kind of content you like and show you those contents. That's why you see a lot of people like so much on TikTok videos that when you post on Instagram you'll be seeing 20 likes. Post it on TikTok, you're going to see things like 10,000 likes, 20,000 likes. Reason because TikTok shows this to a variety of people, and not just people that are following you or you are following. Okay, so what makes a good product? Again, the good product should be useful, it should be usable, it should be enjoyable, and also it should be equitable. Remember, you are trying to be a professional UI UX designer, not charge and bill lawyer. Okay, so you have to make sure you think through every step that you are putting into your app. Every icon should make sense. Every icon should make sense. Every color should have a purpose. Every element should be doing something, right? Even if it's decoration, it shouldn't take away from the core functionality of your app. Are we together? Now, like I said, if you have questions, make sure you drop those questions. After we took a look at what makes a good product, we went into the basics psychology of UX, right? Basic UX psychology. And like I said, make sure you go back to the portal and read these lessons. If you are not reading these lessons, you are sitting in a long thing if you're not reading these lessons, you are sitting on a very long thing. You must make sure you go back to the portal and read these lessons. They are extremely important. Okay, so we took a look at basic psychology of UX. We talked about things like memory, sense making, decision and choice making, cognitive biases, persuasion and influence, motivation, and emotional delight. When we say memory, right, we said that human memory is limited and imperfect. The limit of human memory affects people's ability to process information and shape the way information is stored over long periods. Now, when you understand the way the human memory works, it will also help you in organizing things in a way that makes it easy for people to remember, right? There is a mantra in UX that says recognition over recall, right? So you want to make people to easily recognize things instead of trying to remember them, right? Instead of trying to recall them, because the memory, the human memory is limited. So at every point in time when designing, you have to take a look at how to make these things a little bit more so that the user can always remember things. For instance, if you have a drop down, a drop down, maybe a drop down that is so much, if your drop down or something like if your drop down is so much, maybe you want people to select a list of things. If it is so much, what you can now do is to categorize them. Imagine you click on a drop down and you have up to 40 options. You find out that it's going to be very difficult. But when you read that article, you also understand how to use this to also play things to your benefit, right? For instance, it's been observed that when you have a list of things, the human memory will always remember the last one compared to the first one, right? The last thing the person sees is the one that will be most fresh in their mind, right? So sometimes when you are designing and maybe you have two options, if you have two options and you want the user, you are trying to make sure the user choose the second option. Now the one you want the user to choose, that should be the one you should make your second option, because the user is going to see the first one and then they'll see the second one. The second one is likely going to be the one they are going to click on or they are going to remember. Now, this is not necessarily when you have two things, but when you have things that are a little bit longer, the ones below are the ones we are able to remember faster. Okay? In as much as we gather all those information, the one we're able to remember faster will be the ones below. We also took a look at sense making, right? And also decision and choice making, cognitive biases. I may not have time to go through all this, so that's why I said it's important we go through all those things, right? All those articles, so that if you have questions, you can always ask. So remember, if you still have questions, drop them in the comment section. Okay. After that, we took a look at some basic laws. We took a look at basic laws and principles of UX design. We took a look at laws like Hicks law, Fitts law, Gestar's principle, cognitive load, aesthetic usability effect, Myers law. These things, they are not for jam questions. It's not like you are expected to read it and then we'll ask you, who says this, by who, and by what? No, that's not what we are trying to achieve with these articles. Instead, you are going to read this to get the information, right? For now, okay? You read this, you get this information, and you know that, oh, somewhere there are laws and principles of UX design. Now, remember, these laws and principles, it's not like they are, I don't know how to put it, but these are just common sense things, okay? These are things that you also probably would have been doing without even knowing, right? It's something that you probably might be doing without even knowing, but some UX designers or some psychologists or some people decided to document it so that we don't make some mistakes that they made. So that is why it's important for you to actually go through some of these documents. Okay, it's important for you to go through some of all those documents, not some of them. Go over them, and as time goes on, once you have this information, you can always go back to them to refer to them for clarification. Okay, so we have, I'm just going to explain a few of them. One of them is the aesthetic usability effect. Now, this aesthetic usability effect states that users tends to feel like apps that are beautiful or beautifully designed are more usable. Now, this should tell you that when you are designing your app, you should make it to be very pleasing and pleasurable to use, because users will always feel like, yes, this is usable because it is good looking. Okay, it happens everywhere, right? So you should always note this. Okay, so these are important things you should know. Now, when you talk about the Hicks law, if you go to Hicks law, it states that the time it takes to make a decision increases with the number of complexity of choices. Now, once you want users to be able to make quick choices, make sure not to give them so many options. When you give users so many options, you are just going to make them to waste time. Okay, and they might not even take action, because the average human on the internet right now spend less than 4 seconds before they take an action. Less than 4 seconds. In fact, when people visit a website, bam, within 5 seconds they've already decided if they will keep scrolling or if they are bouncing, right? So that is why it's very important to learn to read about some of these laws so that you can take them into consideration when designing, right? Other laws we saw was things like Doherty thresholds, gold gradient effect, Jacob's law of pregnance, law of proximity, law of common region, Miller's law of uniform, blah blah blah, law of similarities. So many laws. Now, like I told you guys, it's not like you are going there, you are going to read these things and and trying to cram them. No, you are not reading it to cram so that you can regurgitate it during tests or during assessment. No, no, no. The essence of reading this is to get those information. These are tools that will empower you to design better. Because when you understand, like, it takes, for instance, this one I just said now, it takes time to make decision, that the number of time it takes to make a decision increases based on the option. With this, you would understand that, oh, so if I'm actually designing, right, just so that people can make decisions, I don't have to include so many options. Because if I include so many options, it will take people time. And that is why you see in some onboarding screens, when they have so many options, they will now tell you choose 5. Okay, now reducing that choose 5 already makes it very easy. Okay, once they say choose 5, it reduces the complexity on your own side. Because at first, when they put in all those boxes with like maybe 20-40 options, it's already giving you anxiety. But then you see where they wrote choose 5, so that they can use this to, you see this on apps like Pinterest, on apps like Medium. When you just sign up, they are trying to know the kind of information to show you. They'll just tell you pick, when they show you like 20 or 30 categories, they'll just tell you to pick 3, right? So that limits, it gives you that assurance that, oh, I can just pick 3 and we get it away with. So that is some of the things you need to know. Someone said, please sir, can you give me practical use of blah blah blah. This is because you have not been you have not been reading the documents on the portal. Now, unlike what you have somewhere else, we actually have the application. Now, Fitts law, it says the time required to move a target area is a function of distance to the target and the size of the target. The time required to move to a target area is a function of the distance to the target and the size of the target. Then we wrote somewhere application. Designers should make interactive elements larger and position them in easily reachable areas to enhance usability. What you're asking, the answer is already there. I've gone through the material, but I don't understand it. Okay, the good thing is you've gone through the material. it's somewhere in your brain, but you don't understand. That's fine. It's perfectly fine. If you went through that website, I don't know if you went through that website. If you went through the website, you should have more information on that. But basically, like I said, what we're trying to do here is to summarize it. We said you should, any item, right, that users are going to interact with, just make it a little bit what, larger. For instance, in a form, when you have form input fields, if you notice our app, our Spendy app, the form input fields, you notice that the button was just a little bit bigger than all of them. Okay, the button were a little bit bigger than the rest, than the form fields. This is just us applying the fits law. Okay, so anything that is going to be a little bit interactive, network, are we still together? If you're here, just send in the, if you can hear me, send in a love emoji. Send in a heart emoji if you can hear me. Okay, so if you can hear me, send in the heart emoji. Okay, yeah, I think it's network. Yeah, I think I'm okay. Let's try. Let me try fixing this network issue. Trying to switch. Okay, so I'm just trying to reconnect here. Okay, I think we are getting back. We're getting back right now. So I'm trying to reconnect. These network issues keep coming on and off. Okay. Yeah. So if you can hear me now, just drop the heart emoji. If you can hear me, drop the heart emoji. I think we are connected now. Okay. Okay, great. I think we're back. So guys, if you can hear, If you can hear, drop the heart emoji. I think we're back, although the network seems to be a little bit shaky, but we're trying to fix it. I think we're back. We're trying to fix it. Okay, great. So you can hear me now. So for the person asking about the Higgs law, no, the Fitts law is basically telling you that if you have important elements that are going to be interactive on your screen, just make them a little bit more pronounced, just make it a little bit more attention grabbing. And that is why if you see things like the button size on the form, we made it a little bit bigger. Okay, I think we're back now. So we'll still come back to answer some of those questions. So if you have any question, don't forget to drop it in the comment section. Okay. After the law and principles of UX design, like I said, even if you are reading these things and you don't really understand, please, what you need to do once you finish reading and you don't understand, the best thing you can do is to send in a question in the question and answer channel. So send in a question right there. Right, don't wait. So send in a question so someone can answer you. Okay, if a student might answer you, with someone with a better understanding can answer you, or one of the facilitators can answer you, or I myself can also answer you. Okay, so it's important that we read this and understand. Sometimes this English, they can be too much. Meanwhile, they're just talking about something very easy to comprehend. Okay, but the English itself, you know, English is not our language. Before you try to break down the English, before even understanding it, it's another layer of complexity. So once you are done reading and you don't understand, it's important that you just send in a message instant. Okay. Next, we went into UX design frameworks. Okay, we went to UX design frameworks. So after taking a look at laws and principles of UX design, we took a look at what UX design frameworks. So what exactly is UX design frameworks? Now, these are basically frameworks that provide structured approach and guidelines to help designers create meaningful and effective user experience. Yes, the network, yes, the network is seeing all the heart emojis, so it should respect itself. So basically, you on your own, right? When you attend an interview, if you attend a UI UX interview, one of the major questions they always ask is, what is your process? What is your design process? Or can you take us through your design process? Now, a lot of design agencies, they all have different approaches to what building their product. A lot of companies use different approaches. A lot of designers use different approaches. But you know, some people just decided, you know what, instead of all this one that we use, let us document it so that we put it out there, so that if anybody wants, they can actually use that same process. So these are called frameworks. So it's not like, in fact, some of you might have been doing some of these things without even knowing that it has a name, right? It has a name, okay? So these are just the way most people, most companies, most agencies, most designers were doing things, and they decided to make it more official by documenting each step by step, okay? Then, so these are called frameworks. So it's not like they are big deal. In fact, you can develop your own framework, and if it works, if you follow it and it works all the time, you can call it any name you want, right? You can just create a framework now and call it the Abimbola 2+2 framework. And when people test it out and it works for them, remember, it's just basically you providing a structured approach to your own process, okay? But basically, we have a lot of them, but these are the most widely acknowledged ones. The first one being the design thinking approach framework, the double diamond framework, lean UX framework, jobs to be done framework, agile UX framework. And there are other frameworks that were listed on the portal. These things are things you can study on your own. And like I said, you can actually create your own process. Now, this might be funny, but it's also a design process. Now, if there are some projects you might work on, and for instance, the design process we've used for the first 7 days of the design challenge does not include any design thinking or double diamond, or no. The design process we were using is to go online, look for reference image, replicate, and basically, if you want to give it a name, you can call it still like an artist design process. You go up there, you go out there, you see what people have done, and it relates to what you want to do. You pick like 3 images, you drop it in your Figma, pick one of the best features in all this, and then create your own design. Still like an artist design process. Okay, so there are different processes. If your own process is that anytime you want to design, you have Ojuju Calabar that you speak to, and in the morning the thing vomits a design inspiration for you, and you jump into Figma, bam, that is your own design framework, right? If you can actually, it's your own design process, but if you can actually structure it in a way that everybody will now have access to that Ojuju Calabar, and every time they speak the same thing you speak, the Ojuju Calabar will vomit that design for them, then it becomes a framework. It might even be called the Ojuju Calabar design framework. Are we together? So I don't want you guys to see these frameworks as things that are complicated. They are just ways people do things. Some companies, some individuals, some agencies. It's just a way that they've been doing things that have been working for them, and they decided to put it out there for everyone to use. Okay? So these are some of the common ones, but one that you hear often, one that you're going to hear often, especially in design schools and some, especially in design schools basically, is the design thinking framework. Okay, the design thinking framework. Now we're going to take a look at the design thinking framework, but like I told you guys, in this bootcamp we are going to be doing things channeling more of what is seen in the workplace. Okay, more of what is seen in the workplace in 2023. So but we'll take a look at it. So what exactly is the design thinking framework? So the design thinking frameworks basically outline some steps you can use to achieve some certain things. Let me see. Why don't I have the image here? Let me go back here and see. Let me bring this up, and okay. So I have it back on the presentation. So let's take a look at what exactly is the design thinking framework. So the design thinking framework, we have mainly 3 stages, three stages, right? But they are actually broken down into other 6 steps. Okay, we have 3 stages, 6 steps. 3 stages, 6 steps. Okay, we have understand, explore, and materialize. Understand, explore, and materialize. Now, under understanding the user, you have 2 stages. You empathize with the user and then define the user's problems and the project goals. Okay? You empathize with the user. Now, once you are done empathizing with the user, you go ahead, you create your problem statements. Once you create your problem statement, you go ahead to define possible solutions to those problem statements. You define your problem statement. After that, you move on to ideate, where you begin to ideate on different possible solutions. You might use things like what might we, how might we, and other types of framework to achieve this. You talk about things how do we tackle this problem, and after you've talked about how to tackle the problem and how to create it, you move over towards creating it and prototyping. Once you are done, those 2 are under the explore stage. Once you are done with this, you go ahead and test and implement. So that's basically design thinking framework for you. It is not difficult. Now let me put this in a little bit more plain English for you. Okay, understanding the 3 main things you do anytime you are building a product. You understand the users you're trying to create a product for, you design, and then you ship. Okay, understand, explore, materialize. So these things are very important. These things are very important. You understand, you explore, then you materialize. Very, very important. So this is basically the design thinking framework. You are going to see it in a lot of places. You are going to see it in a lot of places. Okay, I think this network is let's see. Okay, we are back again. I just reconnected. So you're going to see this framework used in a lot of designs. But trust me, in 2023 and beyond, except you are building something, something new, a new field or a new medium, you might not really necessarily use this. And from what we've been seeing so far, a lot of people don't use this most of the time. But let's continue. We went into introduction to UX research. Okay, like we said, everything boils down to the first thing, understanding the user. If you can still hear me, I want you to drop the heart emoji. Let me be sure that we are together. Please, if you can hear me, drop the heart emoji. If you can hear me, drop the heart emoji. Let me be sure that everyone can hear me. Are we still together? So if you can hear me, drop the heart emoji. Let me be sure that everyone can hear me. Okay. Let's go. Okay, great. So, like I said, the design thinking framework, you're going to see it in a lot of places. Basically, you have to understand, explore, and materialize. Now, for you to understand people, right? One thing you need to know, as a UI UX designer, some of you here read zoology in school. Some of you read agriculture. Some of you read banking and finance. Some of you read information communication technology. Some people read medicine. Some have not completed reading anything. Some are still reading what they don't even understand. Now, what I'm trying to say is that as a designers come from different backgrounds. But irrespective of background, you are going to be tasked to design things, sometimes things outside your field. You are going to be tasked to design things outside your field. Now imagine you read medicine in school, and someone is now calling you to come and develop or design an app that is going to be used by restaurants. You didn't read anything culinary in school, but you read medicine, and now you are to design an app for a food, a restaurant. How do you know exactly what to design? It's basically to ask questions. So asking question is just what you call research. Research is all about asking questions or observing things, right? That is basically research. Like if you're a graphic designer, for instance, and let's say you just finished learning graphic design, and then your first customer said, I want you to design a sales agreement form for me. Now the thing is, have you seen a sales agreement form before? The answer might be no, because you are not a salesperson, or you've not come across such document before. So what do you do at that point in order to be able to design it? You ask the man question. You can ask question like, what do you want to include in this form? Do you have a sample of this form? Can I take a look at it? Now, if the person doesn't have a sample, the person can say, okay, I don't have a sample, but you can actually check online and see if you can, seek samples of sales agreement form. By the time you now go online, you now see samples of sales agreement form. There and then you begin to know, oh, so these are the kind of contents that are included in a sales agreement form. And then you put heads together and now design that sales agreement form. So basically, this is how it works. So when you say research is not rocket science. In fact, UX research is not the type that scientists do. Okay, UX research is just basically asking users to understand you, asking questions to understand users, and also observing. Sometimes it has to do with what? Observing users. Okay, now when it comes to research, we have three main types of research. Now I want to explain this so that you can actually understand it. We have three main types of research. we have foundational research. Foundational research, these are the type of research you do at the brainstorming and define stage. At the brainstorming and define stage, you do foundational research. Okay, this is where you begin to find out what exactly are we building. What exactly are we building? You answer the question of what exactly are we building under your foundational research. Are we together? You answer the questions of what are we building? What should we build? What problems do users have? How can we solve this problem? And how can we, make sure that we achieve all the goals we set to achieve with this business and with this product? Okay, that is foundational research. Now, once you've figured out what to build, you can now do design research. Design research is basically when you've done your research, when you've done your design, right? You can now go in, or when you are still about to do your design, you are still doing, testing other things that can work and things that might not work. You use different approaches, right? Then you can do all those research, things like A/B testing. You can do something like card sorting. You can do something like guerrilla studies. Maybe you just have like a wireframe. Okay, you just have like a wireframe. You can show it to someone else to ask the person, what do you think of this wireframe? Is it making sense to you? The person will say, I think, okay, you mean from here you go to here, you go to here to achieve this. You'll be like, yes. The person say, yeah, well, it's very clear. And someone else might, maybe you draw something, someone else might say, I moved, but I can't really see. This is confusing, right? Then you begin to get feedbacks. That is what the design research, okay? And then you have the last one, which is post-launch research. Now remember, like I keep saying, this is iterative. After you finish launching, right, people are going to complain. People are going to request for new features. People are going to give feedbacks. Now you go back to these feedbacks, you take a look at all the things people are already requesting for, things that people are already asking for, and then you can fine-tune the app and then push out the updates. And this is what a lot of people do, especially teams, agile teams, right? When you go to companies or agencies that are using the agile framework, this is how they build. That's why today, almost every week or 2 weeks, you are updating an app. Every 2 weeks, Facebook tells you update, because they've changed some things. If they are waiting for everything to be perfect before the launch, it will never be. And that is one thing you people also need to include in your daily lives, right? Those of us that have started this course, make sure you complete it. If you are waiting for everything to be very perfect before you do start, it will never be perfect. But as you keep going, you keep improving, you keep iterating, and you keep developing. Okay? So these are the three main types of research. You have the foundational research, you have the design research, and you have the post-launch research. Like I said, this research is not the type scientists do in order to fly a rocket to space. So don't start overthinking. Don't start overthinking. It's not hard. It is not excessive research that you need to, be too serious with. It's not that serious. In fact, if you go to the street, if in your street you see a lot of people, a lot of people in your street are not able to afford to buy land, and you ask them, why can't you afford to buy land? And they said, well, I don't have that large sum of money to use and buy land, right? Now you have done research, and you find out that, the reason why this person don't have, this group of people don't have land is because it is just too much for them to bring out maybe 5 million naira to buy land at once, right? You can now ask them things like, okay, if you see a platform that allows you to pay maybe 100k every month, and then in 2-3 years you would have completed the payment of the land, would you be interested? Some will say yes, some will say no. You get that insight. And if the people that said yes are much, you can say, okay, let's build this app, and kind of like a loan app. When you need a land, you deposit and you are given the land. You can see that you've done your research and you build your product, and then users start using it. So it's not difficult. So 3 types of research: foundational research, design research, and post-launch research. Okay, the next thing we took a look at is types of research now. Okay, types of research, or we can say categories of research. Okay, now here we categorize research into 2 phases. We categorize research into 2 phases. So I don't want you to mix these things up. The main types of research we have is, you have the foundational research, the design research, and the post-launch research. Now, these things can be done in 2 ways. This research, these 3 types of research we just talked about, the foundational research, the design research, and the post-launch research, they can be done in 2 ways. And these 2 ways is categorized based on 2 things. The first one is who is conducting the research. And the second one is what type of data is being collected during this research. Now, under who is conducting this research, if you are the one conducting the research, that means you are the one going to ask people this question, or you are the one observing this. That is called primary research. That means you are the one carrying out the research. Okay, if you are the one that conducted the research, it is called primary research. That means if you are the one that went to ask those families or those households, why are you not able to afford a land? If you are the one that went to ask those questions, it is called primary research. But if you read about it, or you went to read something that someone already did, okay, if you went to read something that someone already did, that's great. Chiebuka, that's basically why we're having this. If you went to read something someone else did, maybe a report by an organization which states that households in Nigeria are unable to afford housing because they don't earn much and then they have to pay all at once, that is secondary research, because you are picking your information based on someone else's research. It is not bad. In fact, as a beginner, a lot of the things you are going to be doing is going to be secondary. Okay? Now, if you go on your, like if you are the person that went to an app review page to read through the reviews and synthesize them, that is primary research. Now, if you finish synthesizing your research and someone else uses your data, that person is using secondary research. So you can see, so 2 ways we categorize the types of research. By who can be primary research or secondary research. If you conducted it yourself, primary research. If you are using a source, secondary research. Now, the second one is what type of data did you collect? Now, if you collected data like trends, example of what trend is let's assume you posted something on Twitter. You posted 2 designs on Twitter and you ask people, please, which one is better? Which one do you prefer? And you put A and B. Then people started commenting A, some people B, A, some people B. And at the end of the day, you tallied A and B. And then maybe A got 20 votes and B got 50 votes. Now you will now say, oh, because B got 50 votes, that means we should go with B. You can see you are dealing with numbers. You are dealing with trends. Now, if that is the type of data you collected for your research purpose, that is called a quantitative research. So quantitative research, these are measurables. You know, you get numbers, they are measurable trends. It's trends. Like if you want to say, okay, we want to build an app and we don't know the kind of app to build. Let's see, are people even interested in this type of app? And then you ask questions like, will you be interested in an app like this? With an option of yes, no, yes, no. You find out that you are going to collect these data in form of trends. They are going to be numbers. So those type of data, they are called qualitative data. Sorry, they are called quantitative. Quantitative. What? Always use quantity. Use quantity to remember it. So quantity, quantitative. That is, you are looking at the higher the number, that means it's better. Okay, so you use this type of research in things like maybe you want to conduct like an A/B testing. You have two designs, you want people to find out what they're actually doing. So quantitative research. Okay, now carrying out this quantitative research, remember, it could be you carrying it out yourself. Like if you went to Twitter, okay, to conduct this poll yourself, remember it is primary research. Okay, but the type of data you are collecting at that point is quantitative research. Now, while quantitative research can actually give you an idea of how many people are going to adopt a particular feature or a particular app, it might not answer the how and the why. Okay, like if you ask people, these two design, which one do you prefer, A or B? And people are answering A, some are answering B, some are answering A. At the end of the day, you might go with A since A has the higher number, but you might not actually know why. Okay, now if you want to understand the why behind the trend, that is when you use what you call qualitative research, where you begin to ask open-ended questions. Example, you can say, this design, please choose one, A or B, then tell us why. So okay, Bumi, I've seen your question. Now if you ask question like A or B, please tell us why, you now see people say, I like A because they give the reason. So by the time you look at all those responses, you begin to find matching pattern. And then from those matching pattern, you will now know the reason why people actually like or people actually chose B. But if you don't include a qualitative research to your research, you might not actually understand the reason why. So Bumi said, sir, when do you use open-ended questions and closed-ended questions for researches, or which is best? So Bumi, if you try understanding these things like this, you will not understand it well. Okay, so I'm going to use example. So let's say, Bumi, let's say you move into, I don't know which state you are currently in now, but let's say you move into Abuja and you want to start a cake business. If you just go to the market and buy cake business, collect loan, open shop and do everything, chances are you open it, some people might come, some people might not come. But here is the thing, if you check online and then you just check, maybe you go to Google Map and ask and enter something like cake shop, maybe that your region, maybe you enter Abuja and you are staying in a region, let's say Jabi, you stay in a region called Jabi, and then you go to Google Map and you type in cake shops in Jabi, and then you saw the number of cake shops in Jabi, then you typed another section, cake shop in Otako, you saw the number, cake shop in Wuse, you saw the number, cake shop in Kubwa, you saw the number. Now if by the end of the day you find out that there are lesser cake shops in Jabi, what you should now do is you might decide, okay, let me go and rent shop in Jabi. Now that means you've done a primary quantitative research, because you took the decision based on the fact that there are not plenty cake shops in Jabi compared to other locations. Then you move in there. But that does not guarantee the success of the cake shop, because while that research gave you trend, it didn't answer the reason why. Now to answer the reason why, you can now do another research. Once you now know, Jabi has lesser number of cake shops. Okay, so let me now do research to know why. You can now do research and now ask open-ended question. You can now start asking people there, have you patronized or have you bought a cake before? Who did you buy from? How much did you buy? Now, this will now give you the reason why. You might, maybe by the time you finish that qualitative research now, to know the reason why there are lesser cake shops in Jabi, you might now discover that, maybe shop rents are very high compared to what you make as, making cake in that area, and that is why cake shops are not much. Or you might just discover that people in Jabi are trying to lose weight, and all of them don't like eating cake, right? That will now make you to say, now you have to carry your business to where it is happening. You look for that area where people are always jollificating, doing wedding, doing birthday. Because if you also find out that area, they don't have a lot of festive, they don't have children. In fact, they are biapo. There's no need carrying your cake shop there, because you are going to spend more. So if you begin to think too much, you will miss the point. Don't overthink too much. Just know that you have 3 types of research: foundational research, design research, post-launch research. Now, based on who conducted this research, it could be primary research or secondary research. Now, depending on what you are looking for, it all depends on your research goal. We'll do practical research, right, where we set research goals and all these things. Now, depending on your goal, depending on your research goal, you might decide to collect quantitative research, or you might decide to collect quantitative data or qualitative data. There are scenarios that require qualitative data. There are scenarios that require quantitative data. Okay? It all depends on your research goal. That's basically what it is. It all depends on your research goal. Okay? So, if you don't know your research goal, that is when you begin to ask, what should I use? Should I use primary research, or should I use secondary research? Should I use qualitative or quantitative? Or should I use primary, or should I use secondary? For instance, most of what we've been doing in this boot camp, some of those points or tips we've been giving, they are all secondary. These are things that people have tried and it works. It has been discovered that when you make your shadow, your shadow have the same color as the same hue as the background, it just looks better. So it's a secondary. I'm not the one that discovered it. So what do I need to do? I'll say, now they do for here, I implement it. And I've told you people to also implement. Don't come and ask me why. It's a secondary research. But then the why is that it looks more natural. Okay? It looks more natural. So there are things that when you want to do, you don't need to go and conduct a whole primary research. You can just, a quick Google search can give you the report. Okay? So you should understand this now. So they are not difficult. Now that you know that we have 3 main types of research, and this research can be categorized in based on who conducted it and the type of data they collected, we now have different ways you can conduct this research. Different ways you can conduct this research. It includes interviews. You can interview people. Now, interviews is not supposed to be that difficult. Thank God for even AI. So we'll take a look at how to even use AI, leverage AI to create questions. Because some of us here don't even know how to ask questions. Right? That's why we even talked about UX research biases. So, for instance now, let's assume Bumi eventually, let's say your budget is 1M for shop rent. Meanwhile, in Jabi, the average shop rent is like 2M. And you are now asking questions. You will now try to, make the person agree that it's because it's 2M. That is why people are not eating cake. So that you can now say, I said it. So those type of questions, you want to avoid them. Leading question. We'll take a look at how to set interview question, but we'll be leveraging AI. Okay, so you take a look at all these things. But as an entry level UI UX designer, trust me, you not interview anybody. Who want interview? Company sef don't even have money to conduct interview. So that's why you see a lot of them doing survey, right? Because surveys are cheaper. Yes. So interviews are more expensive, right? You have to fund everything, you have to bring in the people. But for your project, for your personal project, of course you can do interviews because those are your paddy, your friends. These are people around you. So yes, you people can always do, you people can always talk, And interview basically is talking to people. Exactly. So Bumi, yes. So those are suggestive and leading questions. So you want to avoid them at all cost, okay? It's just like your mom asking you, Shebi, this food is sweet. This food that I cook, this food that your mom cook for you, your sweet mother, Shebi is good. Shebi you like it. Will you say you don't like it? You will not try it now. So you can see it's a leading question. It's like, hey, you like it, right? You like it, right? Okay. So how can you conduct, whether we are talking of foundational research or design research or post-launch research, how can you conduct them? There are different types of ways to conduct them. One, you could use interviews to conduct them. You could use surveys to conduct them. You could do a usability studies to conduct them. You could do a heuristic evaluation. It could be card sorting. It could even be focus groups. It could be customer journey mapping, survey with net promoter score, diary studies. Now, like I said, all these things, they are not hard. So don't come and say, how can I conduct survey? They are not hard. The most difficult thing in a research is to know or have a research goal. If you have a research goal, bam, that is it. You know exactly what you want. The only thing, how to go about it, is not a problem. The most important thing is you know your research goal. So in the practical section of this UX course, we will take a look at how to set your research goal, and based on your research goal, you set out your KPIs. These are your key performance index. These are things that you know that, when I meet this, you know that, we are good to go. Okay, because if you don't set up your key performance index, how will you even know that you've achieved what you are looking for? Okay, so you set up your metrics. So you set up your goal, you set up your metrics, and once you set up your metrics, you can set up your questions. In fact, if you want it to even be more standardized so that you don't make a mistake, you could even write a script. I don't know if some of you have noticed, when you call Airtel or any of these networks, you see that there's a way they always greet. Those things, they write them for them. They write them for them. That's why sometimes, once they don't know, probably in their script, they will tell them, once they don't know once they don't have a response to that particular customer question, they should just say, okay, we'll look into it from the back end and get back to you as soon as possible. They know. They are not looking into any back end. It's when you've dropped your call, they will now forward your inquiry to people wey know am, wey go solve am, because no be them kill Jesus, right? But they will tell you, we'll look into it and from the back end and resolve your issues right now. Okay, so if you even want, you can create a script on how you want it to be, how you want to ask the question, and based on the customer's response, the next question, how you want to position yourself. That is extra if you want. Okay, but it's always good to do it so that you don't forget yourself when asking the question, especially with interviews. With interviews, you want to work with a script. If not, you might laugh. You might even laugh too much. So it's important you know some of these things. So they are not difficult, okay? They are not difficult. So don't think they are difficult. Also, you don't know how to conduct all this type of research. No, you don't need to. At this stage, you don't need to. But as time goes on, you begin to, understand this, okay? So, After that, we talked about AI enhanced user research, we talked about avoiding biases in research, and we explored some UX design case studies. Now, the best way to become a great UX designer is to study other people, how other people design. For instance, you can go and study how, Spotify redesigned their design system. You can go and study how Uber revolutionized the transport industry. You study the UX behind those products. That's where they tell you, they might even, in some cases myself, they might even post some of the questions they asked. Now you can also go on Behance, but I don't always advise Behance. If you're on Behance, make sure you are looking at a product that have been shipped, not a hypothetical product of a learner like you as well. In as much as they might bring in a lot of things on the table, look at products that are real life products. Look like Figma case studies, all those, real apps. Okay. So, sir, I've heard of MVPs. Share more light on MVPs and when it can be used. Yes, so once you've done your research, you are going to have a lot of features. You are going to discover a lot of insight and a lot of features to add to your to your app. But you can't wait till you build an app, build those features complete before you launch. Okay, once you have the core functionality of an app, you can launch. That is called MVP, minimum viable product. Minimum viable product, the core functionality of the app. I'm going to give you guys an example right now. Designgate currently is at its MVP stage. The minimum viable product is at its MVP stage, because right now, while conducting this training, while doing this training, we are still getting a lot of feedback from everyone on the platform, and we use all those feedback to build the final product. So you can see that we are not waiting till we are done. No, we have for us, the MVP for Designgate was the VBLS curriculum, the value based learning curriculum. Okay, that is the minimum viable product for us, because by the time we're able to develop that curriculum and make sure it is very different from what you get in other boot camps, that was our MVP, and we had to launch with it, because that is the main difference between Designgate and other platforms. It is our VBLS curriculum. So that is our MVP, and we had to launch now. We didn't wait till we design the whole Designgate. No. So that's basically what an MVP is. Sometimes an MVP must not be the full app. If you have an idea and you know exactly how it's going to work, right? And that is actually going to bring in people to start paying, it's an MVP. So someone said MVP is minimum viable product, a simple prototype version of your product for testing. Exactly. Sometimes an MVP could also be an idea. So take note of that. An MVP could also be an idea, but an idea that is very workable. Not be idea where you never even know how it won't take work. It could be an idea on paper. Okay, so that is an MVP. Now remember, when like Blessing said, simple prototype version, this must not be on Figma. Sometimes it might be coded actually, so don't just think it's Figma. Okay, sometimes it might be coded. Okay, so someone said, is card sorting same as affinity mapping? They are not the same. While card sorting is used for research, okay, affinity mapping is used for synthesizing research, but they are related, but they are not the same. So someone says, sir, is there a site to read on these case studies of already existing websites? You can, a simple Google search, you can see some of them, but we'll try and collate them and share. Okay, so yes, exactly. Thank you, Bumi. So like I said, card sorting is used in research. So when you give it to people to arrange in a way that makes sense to them, you can see you are researching to know if what you did is making sense. Okay. Meanwhile, affinity mapping, you are using it to synthesize your research. Like I said, synthesize is a big English, but it's not. It's just making sense of your research. Okay. We are entering the most important part of this recording now. So please, if you are eating, leave your food and come back to your screen. Anything you are doing, we are entering the main cocoa. How do you approach a design? Start here. This is very important because that's the way we are going to go. We are not going to use the normal design thinking framework, blah 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 blah. No. If you do them like that, you might think it's a linear process. It is not a linear process. So how do you actually start a UX design in the real world though? In the real world. So here is the diagram. This diagram is actually something that's been on the internet, but not a lot of people use it. So we'll also share this diagram on the Telegram channel. Okay. Let me see. I'm trying to make it large. Okay, so I'm trying to make it large. Now, this is very important. It's important you understand what I'm trying to show you now. Okay? Because this is how you approach, this is how most people approach UX design in real life. Sometimes your design might be a hypothesis. Okay? It might just be you designing for yourself, and then later you want to test. So the first thing says, when you want to start a project, do you have something to show the users? Okay? Do you have something to show the users? So you can see user first. So once you know your user, do you have something to show the users? If your answer is yes, that is great. That means you've done some designs and you want to show the users if this design is actually going to solving their problem the way it's supposed to. Now, we are here now, okay? We are right here. Let me hide the UI. So we are right here now, okay? Now, if you answered yes, the next thing you should ask yourself, do you think you know what needs to be fixed in that your design? Are we following? Do you think you know what needs to be fixed in that your design? If your answer is yes, then move all the way to A/B testing. Okay? That means, let's assume on your own, you came up with a design, okay, that you think profiles a solution. For instance, the Spendy app, we just know that our users are people that use bank apps on their phone, and we're trying to help them eliminate the use of banking apps on their phone, right? So we designed Spendy. To us it makes sense, but we don't know if it's actually solving the user's problem. But to us, it's solving the user's it's solving the problem we think it could solve. So at that point, that means yes, we have what users want. Now the next question is, do we think we know what to be fixed? If we know what to be fixed, all we need to do is to do 2 versions or 3 versions. But basically, you want to do 2, right? You do 2 versions of the design and send it out for A/B testing. And anyone that comes back, you get the feedback, and then you launch. Now let's go back a little bit. From do you think you know what needs to be fixed? If your answer is no, then you have one question to answer. That means you have a design, but you don't know what needs to be fixed. The next question you should ask yourself, do you have either money or extra time? Now, if you have money and extra time, then you can do what you call I/click tracking. I/click tracking. Now, why they said money and extra time is because this is going to take more time, okay? And this is going to cost you money because you are going to pay people to come use the app, and then you monitor their clicks and their eye, okay? Now when you monitor their clicks and their eye tracking, this in most softwares like Hotjar, okay, there's a software called Hotjar. We'll take a look at all these things. They are going to basically generate something like a heat map, so that you can see how the people used the site or the app, and then you begin to know where they have frustrations, okay? Once you know where they have frustration, you can go back to your design and iterate, okay? Now if you don't have money and you don't have extra time, which all of us here don't, we'll move directly to heuristic audit. Heuristic what? Audit or heuristic evaluation. Do you have something to show? Yes. What do you think you know what needs to be fixed? No. Do you have time and money? No. So heuristic evaluation. For instance, let's assume you go to a business website, okay? You go to a business website or app and you want to make the app better. You can see at that point you actually have something to show the users. You have the current website to show the users, but you want to make it better, but you don't know what needs to be fixed and you don't have money. So what do you need to do? You need to conduct a heuristic audit. From that heuristic audit, you can go ahead to correct everything that needs to be corrected on the website. Then you move over. Remember, when you've corrected everything that needs to be corrected on the website, the next stage is to move over to A/B testing. And once you do A/B testing, bam, you can launch. Okay? Now, let's move over to the other line. Do you have something to show the user? You said, lie, I don't get anything to show the users. That's no. The next thing is, do you have an idea of what to build? Do you have an idea of what to build? If your answer is yes, I have an idea for what to build, then just go straight and draw your flow diagram. Okay? Go straight, draw your flow diagram. Remember, when you finish drawing your flow diagram, you can go ahead and build it and follow back. That means by the time you've drawn your flow diagram, that means yes, you know exactly what you want to build, and you now have something to show the user. So you have to probably come up here and say, yes, I have something to show the user. Then, do you think you know what to be fixed? If you don't know what to be fixed, you do heuristic audit. If you know what to fix, yes, you do A/B testing. I don't know if people are getting this diagram. Now, let's come back here. Do you have an idea? Do you know? Okay, do you have something to show the users? You said no. Do you have an idea of what to build? You still say no. Do you know the user's problem? You say no. If you don't know the user's problem, then you have to conduct a diary studies. Diary studies is used to uncover problems. Okay? It's used to uncover users' problem. It's a type of what? Research. Okay? It's a type of research where you uncover user problems. So it could be focus groups. Okay? This is where you bring in people that have something in common to either ask questions or monitor them or observe them for a while. So that is what you conduct diary studies. Now remember, when you conduct your diary studies, at that point you now have an idea of what to build. Then you move over and do your flow diagram. I don't know if you are following. This is very important you understand this diagram. Now, if they ask you, do you know your user's problem? That means, do you have something to show the users? No. Do you have an idea of what to build? No. Do you know the user's problem? Yes. Now, in order to know what to build, you do a user interview. So this diagram is the most powerful tool you have right now to answer any question of, sir, how do you know what to build? So sometimes it is just you having a hunch, although the good name for it is called hypothesis, right? Then you come up with something. and then from there you begin to fix it. Or if you don't have an idea of what to build, the next question you ask yourself is, do I know the user's problem? If you know the user's problem and you don't know how to build it, conduct user interviews. This is where you find features. But if you don't even know what to build, you do diary studies, okay, or focus group. Remember, everything here, user interview, diary studies, these are different ways to carry out research. Now, let me tie it all together. If this interview is going to be done by you, that is primary research. If you want to look into this interview based on something that someone have done before, that is secondary research. And remember, all these things can come either in the first stage, right, or the design stage, or the last stage, which is the post-production stage. But this is how you attack UX in the real world. Majority of the time, stakeholders, someone who have money, you might just meet someone who have money, and the person is like, Oga, you said you are UX designer. You said yes. Oh yeah, I need you to help me design a logistic app. A logistic app for my business. Maybe it's an Igbo man. He said, I need you to design logistic app for my business. As a UI UX designer, what are you supposed to do? You collect the money first. Always collect money. Money is very important, right? You collect money, and at that point, do you have anything to show the user? If you have something like Bolt or Uber on your phone, that answer is yes. Now, do you think you know what needs to be fixed? What can you fix in Bolt and Uber that can make a difference that you now use and build that man's own? If you know what you need to fix, you just have to what? Design something different from Bolt. Maybe you've been hearing on Twitter of people complaining that Bolt drivers are becoming very dangerous. You might just do what? You say, okay, I'm redesigning exactly Bolt, but then I want to add a feature that allows you to send your location, okay? And the location on the maybe a button that once you click, bagam, maybe when people download the app, they set up a number that maybe you call a trusted friend. So anytime you are using the app, immediately you click on book a ride, and the ride arrives. You just click on that button. Bam! The button sends your detail and then the rider's detail to that trusted partner. That is the feature you are adding. Once you've done that, you do A/B testing. You are done with your solution. No, you are done with your solution. Are we together? But let's assume I'm using the same scenario to understand. It's very important you understand this, so you don't think it's rocket science. It is not rocket science, okay? Now, the man call you and say, I want you to do a logistic app for me. You see something like that Uber, but I want our own very, very different, okay? Now, the question is, do you have something to show the user? The answer is yes, because you have like an Uber app that you want to already show the user. The next question is, do you know what needs to be fixed? If your answer is no, I don't know what needs to be fixed. This man, he might have money, but you as a UI UX designer, you might not want to spend money, okay? Yes, the clients have money does not mean you have money to spend, but also don't be greedy, please. Now, do you have money? If you have money, and if you don't have money and extra time, what do? You do heuristic study. You gather all those other details. You gather all those other details and all those other apps and conduct a heuristic study. You might use a framework known as, there are different frameworks, but it's just you trying to find out. The most important one, you are trying to see what is working on this app that people like. What is it that people don't like? And what are the opportunities that we might explore? Okay? You look at a lot of things under heuristics when you are performing your heuristic audit. You look at some of the standards for heuristic studies. You look at some of the standards, and then pagam from there. If they say papa, you change it to pale. If they say mama, you change it to male. Maybe they don't have grandpa, you add a grandpa feature. You have solved that problem. and then everybody will hail you, and then the man can now pay you your balance. But here is the thing. The man comes to you and say, I want you to do a logistic app for me. Meanwhile, you just graduated from Sapa University. You don't even know that there is an app like Uber. You have not even seen Bolt app in your life before, right? So at that point, you don't even have anything to show the user. Then the next thing you ask yourself, do you have any idea of what to build? If you are, maybe you are kind of talented and you know what to build, go ahead and map out a flow diagram. Say from here you move to here, from this you move to the, But if you don't know, if you don't even have an idea of what to build, the next question you ask yourself, do you know the user's problem? Okay? The app you want to build, do you know user's problem? If you know the user's problem, if the users tell you they are finding it that along and all these taxi drivers are becoming issue because you can't monitor or do anything, at that point, if you know the user's problem, you conduct a user interview. If you don't know the user problem, you conduct a diary studies. But for a lot of apps you are going to be designing, you might really not need all these diary studies. What do you want to design? Where person never designed before. Okay? There is nothing you want to design where person never designed before, except for all these new platforms like augmented reality. Okay? But even at that, there are already extensive research done in those areas that you can just look into as a secondary research source. So this diagram is very important. If you understand it, you won't have any issue at all with UX design. This is what real world people do. Empathy stage, all those things, they are all here, but not in step by step. Are we together? So drop your questions in the comment section so that once I answer the question, we can call it a day. Now, please, we notice that a lot of you have not completed the articles on the dashboard, on the portal. So, tomorrow and next tomorrow, you are only going to be doing your daily challenge. And remember, from tomorrow midnight, you are expected to start posting, submitting your project. So from tomorrow, you will see a new button. From tomorrow midnight, you are going to see a new button that says submit project. Okay? And also, from tomorrow, you can start sharing your design on Twitter, on other social media networks, using those hashtags. Okay? Now, when you later on, I will tell you guys the best way to post some of these things online so that it will achieve the intended goal we want it to achieve. Okay, so it's important you post it that way. Okay, so from tomorrow, but please don't go and post your day 1 to 7 and waste all your bullets. These your designs now, they are bullets, so you want to be dropping it 1-1. So from tomorrow now, you'll be like, hey, 30 days UI challenge, you drop day 1. And then when you drop it, people will feel like you just did that one that day. They won't know that you have 7 days backlog, just in case of some days where you tire. Okay? So you drop it. So next tomorrow now, you drop day 2. But remember, as you are dropping, don't forget to be designing. Don't go and say, I get 7 days, rest. You just deceive yourself. Okay, so you want to make sure you are dropping it, you are dropping it like that. Okay, so by tomorrow, you go on your different social media platform and you start dropping. What you're actually submitting from tomorrow will be your day 1 UI challenge. Okay, remember, we've already gone through your project. We've gone through your Figma project. So from tomorrow, you are supposed to submit your day 1 UI challenge. Okay, very good question. Sir, when conducting A/B testing, how do you prevent people from stealing the idea? before it's being launched? Well, it's a digital world. The main thing that you should be careful when doing this is the business part of your design, not necessarily your design. Because even your own design, inside that avia, another avia there inside that your design that you don't want people to steal from, you too, you probably stole from someone else. Okay, so the most important thing is the business part. So the business part, you don't release the business part of your project. What you release is the visuals, the walkthrough. And in some cases, if it is something new, something extremely brand new, what you can do is to go and register, trademark it. So you trademark that design. That's if it is entirely new, you trademark it. That's how to protect your intellectual property. You trademark it. Okay, so yes, so that's how it goes. So even like I said, you can still push it and hide everything for people not to see, and you launch it. You will not have money to promote it. Another person will still come and look at it and create it exactly, and even have more money to promote it. Will you sue the person to court? The answer is no. So the best way, if it is a completely new idea, you have to just make sure you trademark it. Okay, that way it is licensed to you. So even if someone copies you, you can take them to court and you will win. Okay, yeah, so that is it. No, for your Spendy app, you already submitted it and you were evaluated. Those of you that got feedback, you are supposed to complete it and inform us when you are done with it. Okay, now if you also want, you can share screens of the Spendy app. If you want, you can share screens of the Spendy app. Okay, share screens of the Spendy app, but most importantly, your day one. Now here is the thing. Anytime you want to send out those day one, those daily UI challenge, please don't just go and say, hey, daily UI challenge, my day one is here, you post. No, don't do that. Okay, don't do that. I'm trying as best as I'm trying as my best as possible to sound as human and not robotic or too professional, so you can actually get these things. Okay, now if you want to post it, always have a story. Always have a story. Now, for those of you that got feedbacks, you might come up with, here is my day one challenge. The one on the left was the initial version. Before you got some feedback from your colleagues, and then you were able to iterate and created the one on the right, which is the final version. You can now end it with, how did I do? Tell me. Or maybe you can now ask people to also send in their feedback so that you can improve. That is how you do it. You post it looking for engagement. So you want to also show your process. But please and please, don't post our wireframe on any social media network. You see those wireframes? Don't post them on any social media network. What you can do is you do your first design, and you can now say, okay, this was my first design, then after feedback, this is the last design. Now if you don't want to do 1 and 2, that's before and after, if you just want to post only the last design, you can now create a story about it. You can now be like, okay, the idea was to create a screen. For day one, we were asked to create a login screen. Now for this login screen, I had to start by exploring different visual options on Dribble, and from Dribble I saw like 3 other images, and from there I got inspiration and came up with this. Just add a little story. So just add a little story. You just have to add a little story. Don't just carry the picture. Some of you, I've seen a lot of people, they'll just carry the picture and say 30 days UI challenge, day one, bah, they drop the picture. What's that? Yeah, someone said, Chiebuka, everybody just they steal for this design industry. Now, why it looks like that is because of the standardized, okay? If the only time is stealing, okay? The only time is stealing, and which is what I don't advise you guys to do. A lot of people even do it, okay? The only thing you don't want to do is you see a design somewhere, you just carry the design, bam, and you now post my day one challenge. Meanwhile, the only thing you did for that design is you copied it, pasted it on Figma, and wrote your name on top. You don't want to do that. That is wrong. That is very, very wrong. You don't just pick pictures you did not do and then call it your own. You must definitely. Now, if I go back to this presentation, for instance, let me go back. You will see that on this image that we've used here, you can see we even had to credit, because we didn't do this. We had to credit, okay? We said image. Even this one, we credited it on the original document. This one, we said image credit, freshwork.io. So imagine you just go and carry this thing and now wrote design by Designgate. Nope, it doesn't work that way. That's pure stealing, and you can be prosecuted for that. So don't be funke. Don't be funke, because you might be prosecuted for that. Are we together? So are we together? Now, like I said, as we are just starting, always work with a reference. By working with reference, now there are two types of referencing. You might say, okay, this design, I like what this person did in this design, okay? And as my learning process, I want to redesign this exactly. Now, if that is what you want to do, you are trying to be, we are trying to make sure you are as professional as possible, please. Now, if you saw a design somewhere and you want to recreate that design exactly, when you finish recreating it, don't just post it and say, my day 2 challenge, I did this myself. No, you can say that you saw this design on so person's stage or page, and you loved it so much that you decided to recreate it to aid you in your learning process. That is how you build networks. Now, by the time you say something like that and you post it out there and you tag the creator might even see it and have goosebumps on their body, like, almost, so my design actually inspired someone is learning with my design. You can even start building new relationships from there, right? The person might even say, wow, well done, anyway, this is good. The person might even give you feedback. Before you know, the person begins to notice your improvement. Before you know, the person might just say, you know what, let's work together on this project. You begin to make new connection. But by the time you just went to carry someone's design and you redesigned it, and you be like, this inspiration directly from heaven. I just woke up this morning, I felt it in my bones and in my brains that I should make this look like this. Meanwhile, on your Figma, the person's design is just next to your own frame, and then you are here forming inspiration from above, and you post it. By the time the person see you, they will call you out, will withdraw you, will not even relate with you again if you are a Designgate student. We'll give you to Udemy. So please, reference when you need to reference, give credit when you need to give credit, and just make sure you post these things. As you are posting it, two things you are looking for. You are looking to build your network and also looking to get feedbacks. Build your network and looking to get feedbacks, okay? That is what you are looking for. You are not just posting it for posting sake. You are building your network and also looking to get feedbacks. Please, it's very important you know how to post. I've told you guys how to post, okay? Are we together? So it's very important. If you have questions, ask. Now, from tomorrow, you won't be getting feedback from Designgate on your designs, on your daily challenges. So please, all the feedbacks you've gotten so far, make sure you impute them into your next designs. So we are entering stage 2 of the daily UI challenge while following our class. So for our UX practical class, okay, UX practical class, the first class on UX practical will be on Wednesday. It should have been tomorrow, but you guys have not finished reading those articles. So we are giving tomorrow and next tomorrow for everyone to read all those articles on UX. Okay, we want to make sure everyone is carried along. Okay, and the first practical we'll be learning is you will be learning how to perform a heuristic audit. Okay, that's the first thing you will learn by Wednesday. Practical, how to perform a heuristic audit, right? You are going to learn it practical. Okay. So, sir, someone said, sir, does that mean we should reference the images we use in our design? Now, if you did exactly, it's good to reference. It's just good to reference if you did exactly. Okay? But remember, that's why we've been telling you to use more images. But if you use like 3 or 4 images and you pick things to do your own, you don't need to reference. Okay, you don't need to reference because there is no one design that is particular, that is just there. It's basically your own design at that point, except you repeated someone's specific styling. Okay, so you can reference. So yes, so you don't always have to reference, except you did something exactly. If you did something exactly, you referencing does not mean you don't know what to do or you are copying. No, it shows that you are a professional, and in your learning process, these are the designs from different people that have been helping you. Like I said, 2 things you are looking for. You are looking for feedback and you are looking for networking. Okay, so if you decide to do something someone else did exactly, make sure to tag the person and also appreciate them. Remember, people will see these things and they'll be like, wow, this person actually have good manners. But please and please, there will be a stage where you are not expected to reference anybody. At that stage, if you keep referencing, that means your own has finished. Sell your computer and enter computer village. Yes, there's no UI UX for you. Anyway, so we are starting our first practical, UX practical, by learning how to conduct a heuristic study. So that with this, once we are able to learn how to do heuristic studies, we can actually start looking at different websites and redesigning them. Okay? Yeah, so if people cannot tarnish the reputation of Designgate, it will just disown you. We'll push you to Udemy. Are we together? So, I hope you guys have learned something this evening, especially with this diagram here. So if you have any question, drop them, because I think we have actually exhausted our time. So if you have any questions, drop them. And if you don't have questions, if I wait for the next like 2-3 minutes and there are no questions, we'll go ahead to end today's live. So you can please like the video, like it. If people don't like clicking on tapping on the like button for all the videos you watch, you don't like them, are you not learning from them? So when you like the videos, you comment on the videos, that shows us that we are trying. Okay? No, you are posting your presentation, then the write-ups should be text. The write-ups should not be on the image you post. The write-ups should not be on top of your design. The write-ups will be typed. If you are posting it on Twitter, the presentation version goes in, then you now type in your backstory. Okay? You type in your backstory. Remember, 2 things you are looking for: feedback and networking. Also, those of us in Designgate, try as much as possible to be networking, chatting with each other and the group, and so on and so forth. Okay. Yes, you can still send to the group. Yes, you can still send to the group, but Designgate might not be providing. If you notice, we've been trying our best to provide real-time feedback. Okay, so we might not provide real-time feedback, but I think other students should be able to, help you out. So by now, you should start training your eyes. Yes, so you can be giving yourselves feedback. Start training your eyes to understand, to know what a good design is. Okay, it's very, very important. The first critic of your design should be yourself. That is why you need to read that articles that talks about bias. Okay, you should be able to look at your design with that bias and ask yourself, this design now, ask yourself this question anytime you finish your design. This is my design. If na another person design am send to me, I go like am? If your answer is no, please start looking for what to remove. Okay, don't always feel like na me design am. Like some of you that designed things and the colors you used were clashing and nobody was seeing what you are writing on the button, and I'm asking you, can you see the text you wrote? You say, hey, now that is subscribe. I'm seeing it. What I wrote there was subscribe now. Meanwhile, the color is clashing, but because you are the one that did it, you are saying, I dey see am, na subscribe. So always look at your design from the user's perspective, not your perspective. Okay, so before you post, please again, do not rush. This design is not something that you are doing something and you are like, hey, daily challenge, time don dey go, omo, you just enter Figma. Some of you, your button is one-sided, it's not aligned. You just post and say Designgate feedback. That's how some of you got feedbacks like too tiny or feedbacks like not good. That means your design was so bad we didn't know where to start giving feedback from. So please settle down and do your own part before you start asking for feedback. So at least we've tried giving back-to-back, almost real-time feedback to all of you. Okay, so it's important you make sure you put in some thought process into your designs. So any other question? Any question? If you don't have question, go ahead and like the video and drop a comment after or whatever. Any question? So in the next 3 minutes, by 7:10, if there are no other questions, I will go ahead and end the live. So 7:10, if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and end the live. So if you have questions, kindly drop them in now. Omoto Yosi Hamid, I enjoyed this class very much. Thank you, sir. You are welcome. Kizito, my challenge is finding the right mock-up to use to present. Now, Kizito, your challenge with finding the right mock-up is directly tied to you not doing enough visual exploration. If you go on Behance and on Dribble or any UX website, right, that post projects, you will see a lot of different presentation style. All you need to do is to copy one and try recreating it. Remember, you are learning right now, so don't try to say let me do everything from my head. At this point, you are still learning. Okay, so yes, so that's so don't overthink yourself. As now, again, don't go and be looking for simple things to reference. Look for the hard ones so that you can ask questions in the group and get answers on how to solve it. Okay, so yes. So Kizito, I hope I answered you. Please try as much as possible to do a lot of visual exploration to see how other people are presenting it. Okay, so once you are done with that, you can getting mock-up is not hard. And getting mock-up is not hard. Yeah. So if you use Photoshop, I will still even show you how to even create better mock-ups. But getting mock-ups is not hard. Someone said he mentioned that he was going to give us realistic 2023 cut off for the loan. So yes, this is design thinking process. Okay, great. Yes. So what project are we submitting on Wednesday, sir? You are not submitting Wednesday. Oh. You are starting the submission tomorrow. So tomorrow midnight, from tomorrow midnight, not in the day, from tomorrow midnight, once you wake up like on Tuesday, you are going to see submit button. So what you are submitting is your day 1. The following day you submit day 2. Third day you submit day 3. So it's your daily UI challenge that you are submitting. Okay. What you are doing on Wednesday is, on Wednesday we are starting practical UX design, starting with how to conduct a heuristic audit. Okay. Okay, so I can see there are no other questions, so I'm going to go ahead to end the live right now. But if you have any other questions, you can easily drop them in the group chat. I hope you guys learned something in today's live, and as always, keep pushing, keep learning, and keep practicing. Remember, it's all about practice. Practice makes perfect. Okay, this is not Netflix that you just watch and chill. You have to practice. So tomorrow, next tomorrow, please try as much as possible to read those articles. They are just knowledge based articles, okay, informational. So try and get them. Okay, are we together? Try and get those things. They are very, very, very important. Okay, try and read them. Okay, on that note, have a good night, everyone.